So we're going to see how we did on our homework. So the directions at the top said state whether these pairs of triangles are congruent by the following. So we talked about side, side, side congruency, side, side congruency, side, angle congruency, angle, side congruency. But notice how they've thrown in a fifth congruency, HL. So we're actually going to learn about HL today and what that means. So for right now, we're going to stick to our four main congruency statements, side, 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 angle, 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 side, to justify if these two triangles are congruent. So in the first picture, notice what I have marked. Notice how I have a side, a right angle, and a side, and how it maps to the side, the right angle, and the side. Well, if I have two right angles, then two right angles are always going to be congruent because their measure is always going to be 90 degrees. So these two triangles are congruent using side, angle, side congruency. And number two, notice how I have the three sides marked, and they are mapped and corresponding to the three sides on the other triangle. So these two triangles are congruent using side, side, side congruency. In number three, the first triangle, I have an angle, a side, and an angle. But notice how it's not the same side on the other triangle. Notice how it's not the included side. So in the second triangle, I have an angle, side. Well, because of this, because the parts are not matched up, then these two triangles are not congruent. So this one would be an N for none or not enough information. And number four, notice how we have vertical angles. And we know vertical angles are congruent. So these two triangles are congruent by angle, side congruency. In number five, note how we have the reflexive property. And so, because we have the reflexive property, we can now make the statement that these two triangles are congruent by angle, side, angle congruency. And then notice in number six how we have, again, the reflexive property. And so we also have the two right angles. So I have enough information to justify that these two triangles are congruent using angle, side congruency. In number seven, I have vertical angles. So with my vertical angles, I have side, side congruency. And in number eight, I have side, 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 side. So that is enough information. Number nine, I have the reflexive property, the two sides that are stuck together. So I have side, side, side congruency. And in number 10, I have, again, the reflexive property with the two sides being stuck together. So I have enough information using angle, side, angle. So what about number 11? So in number 11, I have the two sides and the angle. So if I go from right to left or left to right, I'm going to go side, side, angle, or angle, side, side. Well, if you remember from yesterday, we said that that is not allowed to happen because we have spelled a bad word. So, angle, side, side is out. But I do want to point something else out. So, if you go back up to the top in the directions, if you remember we talked about HL. What do you think HL stands for? Well, if you look at these two triangles, note how we have right triangles. And when we have right triangles have what is called a hypotenuse, which is always the side opposite of the right angle, and the other two sides are called legs. So right triangles will have one hypotenuse and two legs. So in this picture, I have the hypotenuse are congruent to each other, and I have the corresponding legs that are congruent to each other. So we actually do have enough justification to justify that these two triangles are congruent. But we don't use angle side side. We can use hypotenuse leg because we have two right triangles. So we've actually just learned a new triangle congruency statement or triangle congruency justification, and that is when I have two right triangles, if I have a hypotenuse and a leg, knowing I have the right angle, then I have enough information to make the statement that the two triangles are congruent by hypotenuse leg. So HL congruency. Moving right on along, number 12, you should have got vertical angles, so side angle side. If you wanted to go even further and say, oh, hey, look, I've got isosceles triangles, and using your isosceles triangle theorem, which says your base angles are congruent, well, you do have enough information to use side, angle, angle, to justify that the two triangles are congruent. You could have also used angle, angle, side. But might as well just stick to the basic on this one and use side, angle, side congruency. Let's take a look at number 13. So now that we've learned about hypotenuse leg, notice how we've got a right triangle, two right triangles here. So because we have two right triangles, well, I have the hypotenuse are congruent, and I also have the reflexive property because they're stuck together. So I do have two triangles that are congruent using hypotenuse leg. So HL. I would not have been able to use angle side side because that is not allowed. So these two triangles are congruent using hypotenuse leg congruency. Number 14, again, we have the reflexive property. So I have side, angle, side congruency. And then in number 15, I have angle, side, side. We are not allowed to have that. So these two triangles, sorry, now we can see number 15. Angle, side, side, angle, side, side. We're not allowed to have that. And we don't have right triangles. So because we don't have right triangles, we have angle, side, side. These two triangles are not congruent. So I hope this has been helpful. So let's go back and recap what we've learned. So going back to our justification table. We're now going to add a fifth congruency statement onto our table. So the fifth one that we're going to add is hypotenuse leg. And again, that one works when we have two right triangles and we have marked that their hypotenuse is congruent. And we have the hypotenuse and a shared side or the leg. So we have hypotenuse leg congruency.